What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today, I forgot my final bracket for March Madness this year. I'm so excited for March Madness, and we didn't get it last year, so I'm like twice as hyped this year. Before we get into this one, though, I just want to say a few things real quick. Join my group if you guys are a subscriber. If you're new, subscribe, and then you can join my group. My name on the Tournament Challenge app is Dannyology. That's the group name. And then the password to get in is Dannyology and sub. So pause the video if you need to right here to join. I will also have a link down below in the description if you would rather join that way. And if you do join my group and you have the best bracket, after every round, I will be doing a video to see which sub has the best bracket. So after the first, second, after the Sweet 16, Elite 8, we will be doing a video to see which sub has the best bracket. Shout out to my man Drake for that idea. I think it will be a really good way for me to feature you guys a little bit on the channel. And yeah, I just want to say subscribe if you guys are new. We're almost to 400 subs, so it helps me out a lot. Drop me a like, comment down below who you think will make the Final Four this year. And yeah, let's get right into it. I'm excited. I like to make a few bold predictions. I like to predict a Cinderella run. I like to predict some upsets, so don't be surprised if I get a little wild here. But I'm locking in my picks. This is the last bracket I'm putting on YouTube. Let's get into it. First game, I'm going to take Gonzaga, of course. For the last four end game, I'll probably take Norfolk State over Appalachian State. But it doesn't really matter. I'm going to have Gonzaga winning there. And then Oklahoma versus Missouri in the 8-9, the classic 8-9 coin flip match. These teams are actually really close. It's a hard pick for me. But ultimately, I ended up going with Oklahoma just because they play in the Big 12. I think it's a harder conference. And yeah, that's why I picked them. And then we have Creighton versus UC Santa Barbara. And this is a very popular 12 pick over 5. And I'm actually going to pick it as well. I just think that Creighton, because of the things that happened with their coach, I think that locker room might not be together. And I think it really showed in that Big East championship game whenever they got blown out by Georgetown, who was actually another 12 seed in this tournament. So yeah, I have UC Santa Barbara. I think they're actually pretty good. One of the best teams that aren't like in a major conference, so in the tournament. So I have them beating Creighton. And then a lot of people are having Ohio actually beat Virginia too. This is a very popular one. And I kind of want to go that route too. I do trust Tony Bennett, but they do have COVID-19 issues. And this Ohio team just seems like a team that has a chance to make a little bit of a run. I know they have a point guard that kind of looks like maybe the off-brand of LaMelo Ball, but he's still very good. Don't get me wrong. But that's just kind of like what it reminds me of. And then I'm just going to go with Ohio. I mean, I like that the little double upset there to face each other in the second round. One of them will make the Sweet 16. And I just think that Virginia, you don't know who on their team, or at least I don't know who on their team has the COVID. But apparently they'll all be ready to play by game time. I think they play on Saturday. But I do think this Ohio team has a chance. They score a lot of points, and Virginia is probably better at defense than offense this year. I don't know. I just have a feeling. I'm going with my gut for my final bracket. This is me locking in my picks, so I have to go with my gut here. And then we have Southern Cal versus Wichita State and Drake. I actually liked Wichita State a lot, but then they lost a few recently. I like Drake a lot too, but they have some injuries. So I'm going to go with Southern Cal. I think Evan Mobley will lead them at least to the second round of the tournament and knock off either Wichita State or Drake, who I think will win that one. I'm going to go with Drake. I mean, they've had a tough year. I think they at least make it into the tournament. Wichita State been struggling a little bit recently. So I'm going to go with Drake. Even though they have a few injuries, I would like to see them at least make it to the tournament. Just because I feel bad for them because they're injuries, and they had a really good team this year. And then we have Kansas versus Eastern Washington. I think Eastern Washington is probably like the 14 seed that gets like no love in this tournament, even though Kansas had the COVID-19 issues. But I'm going to roll with Kansas. I mean, Eastern Washington, I feel like nobody's picking them, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I don't know. I just can't. And then we have Oregon versus VCU. And I'm actually going to go with VCU in this one. I just have a feeling like I'm not very high on the Pac-12 this year. Oregon did lose to Oregon State right before the Pac-12 championship. I just feel like they might lose. I don't know. I'm going with my gut. I'm feeling VCU in this one. It's not really an upset, 7-10. I don't consider that an upset. I feel like it's a pretty even matchup there. I feel like it will be a close one. Maybe a buzzer beater potential matchup here. Then we have Iowa versus Grand Canyon. I just can't picture Luka Garza in his senior year going out to a 15 seed. I mean, that would be so sad. I think he'll at least get past Grand Canyon here. And I'm actually going to go ahead and finish this first region, pick my Final Four pick, and then go on to the next region. I want to switch it up, do it that way this time. So we're going to go back up here in the second round, Gonzaga versus Oklahoma. And I'm actually going to roll with the Zags here again. I think Gonzaga, I don't know if they'll be able to go undefeated champions. But I don't think Oklahoma has enough to take them down. So that's why I'm bringing them on to the Sweet 16 here. And then we have UC Santa Barbara versus Ohio. Man, this would be such a good game. I would love to see these two, a 12 versus a 13 seed, to get into the Sweet 16. That would be great. And I'm actually going to roll with Ohio in this one. The 13 over the 12, making the Sweet 16. I like it. I don't know why. I like this pick. I think it will be a close one. It could go either way if this matchup happens. But yeah, I'm going with Ohio to make the Sweet 16. And then we have Southern Cal versus Kansas. And I'm actually going to roll with USC in this one. Just because Kansas, the same reason kind of with Virginia, they have the COVID-19 issues, and then Evan Mobley. I think it actually came out that Kansas's center might have been the one that had COVID, so you don't know if he's going to be able to play. And Evan Mobley versus a backup center, I might want to take that. And it sucks Kansas has to go through that, because that game versus Oklahoma was a pretty good game. They was playing really well, and then after that they had to drop out of the Big 12 tournament, so Texas got to move on. But yeah, then we'll go down here to VCU versus Iowa. I got Iowa. I just think that they'll be able to knock off VCU. Whoever comes out, Oregon or VCU, I feel like Iowa will make it to the Sweet 16. I think they have one of the easier paths, to be honest. But next up, we got Gonzaga versus Ohio. Ohio had a great run. As much as I would love to make this pick, I'm going to roll with the Zags again. And then down here, we have Southern Cal versus Iowa. So Evan Mobley versus Luka Garza in the Sweet 16. I would love to see it. I'm picking Iowa, though. I think they have a better all-around team. So a 1-2 here in the Elite Eight. But don't worry, it's not all going to be like that every time. So we're going to go ahead and move down here to the East region. We got Michigan taking on either Mount St. Mary's or Texas Southern. I'm going to think Mount St. Mary's will win that one and then lose to Michigan. That's my prediction. And then we got LSU versus Saint Bonaventure. And I really, really like the Saint Bonaventure team a lot. Like, a lot. But LSU has been very hot lately. I don't like the draw for Saint Bonaventure, man. I wish they got a team like Oklahoma or Missouri, like one of those swapped out, because LSU is hot right now, and Oklahoma and Missouri, they've been on the downfall. I really like Saint Bonaventure, but I think this could be a very, very close game. But I'm going to roll with the Bonnies. I just want to see them win. I think LSU is very hot right now. They could very well get this win. But I'm rolling with St. Bonaventure. And then we have Colorado versus Georgetown. And I'm going to take... this is tough. I'm going to take Colorado on this one. I think a lot of people are picking Georgetown. They just haven't been too consistent other than that Big East run, and I think the Creighton game had a lot to do with their coach and locker room problems, maybe. that blowout win, and I don't know. I just feel like the Big East isn't very strong this year. I think Colorado is a pretty good team, even though they lost to Oregon State, who had a good run. I think they'll get back on their feet. And then we got Florida State versus UNC Greensboro. I'm going to roll with Florida State. I picked UNC Greensboro actually in my last video and put them on a little bit of a run to the Sweet 16, but I'm not going to predict that right here. I think Florida State is a great team. I think they move on here. Next up, we have BYU versus Michigan State or UCLA. I'm predicting Michigan State to beat UCLA and make it into the tournament. And then I have Michigan State beating BYU as an 11/6. I think Michigan State is very good. They have potential to beat a lot of great teams, as they've shown. They've beaten 3 of the 4 top Big Ten teams, I'm pretty sure. I think they beat Michigan, Ohio State, and Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe they beat Iowa. I'm not sure. I know they beat 3 of the 4 top Big Ten teams. So they have a lot of potential there. I'm not a huge fan of BYU. I think they're a very good team, but I'm going to take Michigan State over them. And then we have Texas or a Bill Christian. I'm going to go with Texas. I mean, I don't know too much about a Bill Christian, or I think it's Abilene Christian. But I'm going to roll with Texas. I think they're a very hot team right now, and that's just who I'm rolling with. They played great in the Big 12 championship. And then we have Uconn versus Maryland, and I'm actually going to roll with Uconn in this one. I like the Uconn pick. I think they're a pretty good team. Maybe the best team in this tournament out of the Big East. I'm not a huge fan of Creighton or Nova. Nova has the injuries, of course. Excuse me. And then we have Alabama versus Rick Pitino's Iona team. I don't see them getting it done. Alabama is just too good of a team right now. One of the hottest teams in the tournament right now. So yeah, we're just going to continue with this region. I would love to pick the Bonnies over Michigan. They don't have livers. A lot of people are picking them to lose in the second round, whether it's to Bonaventure or LSU. But I'm going to go with Michigan. I just think since a lot of people are picking that one, I think Michigan is still well capable enough to make a big run, even without Isaiah Livers. I mean, that team is stacked. So I have them getting past the Bonnies, but maybe in a closer game than what people might think. And then we got Colorado versus Florida State. And I'm going to roll with Florida State. I think the Seminoles will be able to get it done there. They played a little bit sloppy as of late, but I think they get it together here and go on a little bit of run in the tournament, as they've shown they can do that before, even as a lower seed than what they are now. Then we got Michigan State taking on Texas, and I'm actually going to move on Michigan State to the Sweet 16, an 11 seed getting there this time. I like that pick. Then we have Uconn versus Alabama. I see a lot of people choosing Alabama. Like, this region is just a region of upsets picks for the top seeds. But I'm actually going to roll with Bama. I think they're a very good team, well capable enough of getting past Uconn. I don't really trust Uconn that much, like, at all. I think they can beat Maryland, but I don't trust them to beat Alabama at all, even though they're a team historically that can make runs in the tournament. But I don't see it happening this year. And then we got Michigan versus Florida State. I'm actually going to take the Seminoles to go to the Elite Eight. I think Michigan has enough to get past Saint Bonaventure and Mount St. Mary's, I think I picked in this one. But Florida State, if they get hot and they get warmed up against Colorado, I think them at full strength is enough to beat Michigan in a close game without Isaiah Livers. So I'm moving them on to the Elite Eight. And then we have Michigan State versus Alabama, and I'm actually going to take Alabama in this one. I just think that I would love to take Michigan State all the way as an 11 seed. I think they have potential to do it because they've shown potential they can beat big teams. But I'm going to roll with Alabama. I think they'll be able to get it done. Just one of the hottest teams, hottest 3-point shooting teams, hottest, like a great defense. They have their leader, Herb Jones, who's just an absolute beast. So I'm trusting Alabama to get it done there. So we have Florida State, Alabama, Gonzaga, and Iowa in the Elite Eight. I will choose, after I finish all the regions, I will choose the Elite Eight games. So next, we have in the South region, Baylor or Hartford. I'm going with Baylor in this one, guys. And then we have North Carolina versus Wisconsin. And I'm going to go with the Tar Heels. I think they can get it done in this one. This will be a very close one. It's another coin flip for me. But I trust North Carolina to get the job done right there. And then we have Villanova versus Winthrop. And Villanova, like I said before, I don't really trust the Big East that much. And they're missing their point guard. Winthrop, maybe the best team out of like a very low conference, like in this whole tournament. They're like 23-1. I'm taking Winthrop in this one. I just think they're a great team, and they can get it done over Nova. I mean, I just think they can. I believe in Winthrop. And then we have Purdue versus North Texas, and I am actually going to take Purdue. Over here we predicted a 12 and a 13 coming, and I wanted to do it again here, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I think Purdue is a good team. They play in a good conference. They can get the job done here in round 1. And then we have Texas Tech versus Utah State, and I'm taking Texas Tech. I just think Chris Beard, when it comes March time, he's ready, and I just don't trust Utah State that much. I did pick them in my last YouTube video, but that was just kind of to switch it up. I mean, I don't actually trust them to get the job done. I actually think that Michigan State should have been here instead of Utah State. But hey. And then we have Arkansas versus Colgate. I see a lot of people taking this Colgate pick here, and I'm not opposed to that. Colgate is a great team, but I don't trust them enough. Arkansas is a hot team coming in. I trust Arkansas there. Florida versus Virginia Tech, and I'm actually going to go with Florida in this one. Virginia Tech, they had a pause, I think, this year, or I think both teams might have had a pause, but I think Virginia Tech missed more games. I just would rather see the team that played more in the season advance there because I feel like they deserve it more. And then we got Ohio State versus Oral Roberts, and I'm going to go with Ohio State in this one, of course. I did see Joe Lombardi, I think, actually picked Oral Roberts, with which I have no disrespect against. I'm all about seeing bold predictions because anything can happen in March. It's called March Madness for a reason. So I love seeing people's bold predictions, something that nobody else has. And hey, and if he wants to put Oral Roberts over Ohio State in his bracket, I'm all for it. But yeah, I'm picking Ohio State though. And then we have Baylor and North Carolina in the second round. I really like this Baylor team, but I am picking North Carolina. I really like this upset pick. I just think it can happen, and I'm down to see it. Like, I just think North Carolina can do it. So I actually have North Carolina knocking off Baylor here in the second round in a huge upset and making it to the Sweet 16. And then we have Winthrop versus Purdue, and I'm actually going to take Winthrop over Purdue. So Winthrop got hot against Nova, knocked them off, and then now they're knocking off a Big Ten team here in the second round in Purdue, who's a great team. But I'm rolling with Winthrop to the Sweet 16 against North Carolina. And then we have Texas Tech versus Arkansas, and I'm actually going to have Arkansas win. I like Chris Beard. I think this will be a very close game, and Texas Tech has played in a lot of close games in Big 12 play this year, but I'm going to pick Arkansas to get it done this year. Texas Tech, a great year. Chris Beard, a great coach, gets them past Utah State, but can't get the job done against Arkansas here in the second round. Then we have Florida versus Ohio State. I think Ohio State just got a really good seed here, or a really good draw, because I don't really trust Florida or Virginia Tech, so I'm actually going to roll with Ohio State to get there in this one. So now, back up to the top. North Carolina versus Winthrop, an 8-12 matchup in the Sweet 16. It's bold, I know, but I like to go big or go home. This is March Madness, man. We got to do it. And I'm actually going to take Winthrop making a run to the Elite Eight. Let's go. You got to choose one Cinderella story. And in this one, the slipper still flips. Oh my gosh, I butchered that. It could have been amazing. It could have been amazing. But in this case, the slipper still fits in the Sweet 16. It's kind of a tongue twister there. But North Carolina had a great run, knocked off the 1 seed to help out Winthrop get there. But then Winthrop went ahead and knocked off North Carolina. So Winthrop into the Elite Eight. Why not? And then we have Arkansas versus Ohio State. And I'm actually going to take a little bit of an upset here in Arkansas, making it to the Elite Eight as well to go up against Winthrop. So, hey, you guys might think this is bold, and so do I, but I like it. I like it. This is my bracket, man. This is my last one I'm making for the channel. Lock them in. This is what I think is going to happen. Then we got Illinois versus Drexel. Illinois, one of the hottest teams, probably the hottest team. Them and Gonzaga are the best teams in this tournament. But the best team doesn't always win. But I think they get the job done here against Drexel. Whew, maybe now I'll stop stuttering. Then we got Loyola Chicago versus Georgia Tech. I really like this Georgia Tech team. I just think they got a tough draw here. I mean, they have a great team. They just won the ACC tournament, but I'm rolling with Loyola Chicago. I think they're a great team, and I think this storyline right here is just too good to not happen. Like the Battle of Illinois. You got Illinois versus Loyola Chicago. Loyola had that huge run. Everyone's going to be watching this game. It's just too big of a storyline to not happen. Like, I just feel like it just is. Everyone wants to see Loyola Chicago get past Georgia Tech. I'm sorry, Georgia Tech fans, but I actually really like your team. I just wish you would have been playing someone else in the first round. Then we have Tennessee versus Oregon State. And I already picked 12 over 5s. I'm not going to pick 3. Oregon State, a great team, but I think Tennessee edges them out barely. Then we have Oklahoma State versus Liberty, and I'm going to take Oklahoma State in this one. I think Liberty has a great team, but another team that suffered from a bad draw. I mean, you have to play Cade Cunningham and that young team who is actually just now starting to heat up to their max potential. So it's just a tough draw for Liberty, a great team. I would have picked them over Virginia, who's a 4 seed, and probably Purdue, honestly. I wish they would have been playing Purdue. I would have definitely picked them. Then we got San Diego State versus Syracuse, and I really like this San Diego State team. Who do I want to go here, man? You know what? I'm going Syracuse. I think Buddy Boeheim gets the job done. Coach's son. He's been heating up. He was tearing it up in the ACC tournament. They almost beat Virginia. I have them beating San Diego State right here. And then we have West Virginia versus Morehead State. And I got to go West Virginia, man. I can't have them get upset by Morehead State. They're probably the worst 14 seed in the tourney. But yeah, I mean, Morehead State could do it. Anything can happen, like I said. But I have to represent. I can't let my boys lose in the first round. I'm not going to be biased in this bracket, but I can't have them lose first round. I got to be a little bit biased. So Clemson versus Rutgers, and I'm actually going to have Rutgers here. I think they're a pretty good team. I don't know too much about Clemson, but I just have a feeling Rutgers is going to win that one in the 10 over the 7. So then we have Houston, Cleveland State, and I actually like this Cleveland State team a lot. I think they deserve better than a 15 seed, and if they did, I probably would have picked them against someone, probably a 3 seed. But I'm going to go Houston. I just think it's a tough draw for Cleveland State. Maybe if they would have been a 14 seed against West Virginia, that would have been a tough one for my Mountaineers, but I'm going to pick Houston in this one. So then we have Illinois versus Loyola Chicago. That is such a good matchup. I think it's too good of a storyline not to happen, like I said, but Illinois too good to not make the Sweet 16 here. And then we have Tennessee versus Oklahoma State, and I'm actually going to have Cade Cunningham. I'm not a big believer in Tennessee, so I'm going to have Cade Cunningham lead his team to the Sweet 16, followed by, Isaac Likely's senior leadership. I think he's a senior, but I know he's older or a higher upperclassman than Cade Cunningham and a lot of those freshmen. So then we have Syracuse versus West Virginia. And Buddy Boeheim got it done against San Diego State, but I'm actually going to have West Virginia win here in probably a 5-ish point game. I think West Virginia will be able to get it done if we get that matchup there. And then we have Rutgers versus Houston. A lot of people taking Rutgers here. I like the bold prediction, but I'm actually going to go Houston in this one. And then next up, we got Illinois versus Oklahoma State. Illinois is like that team. It's like so unbeatable because they're so good. They're a lot like Gonzaga. And I just, this is a tough pick. I'm going with Oklahoma State. Just, I want to switch it up, be different. You know, I mean, I'm going to trust Cade Cunningham to get the job done here in the Sweet 16 against Illinois in a big upset in a way, because Illinois is probably the favorite or second favorite. Them and Gonzaga are the favorites to win this entire tournament. I'm going to have them go home here in the Sweet 16 against Oklahoma State. Then we have West Virginia versus Houston, and I'm actually going to have my boys' run here come to an end in the Sweet 16, sadly. But Houston, a great defensive team. I'm going to have them moving on. I see them getting upset a lot. I think they'll be able to make a run to the Elite Eight, at least right here. And yeah, that is who I have in my Elite Eight. So now let's make our picks for who I think will make the Final Four. So here we go. We got Gonzaga versus Iowa, and I am going to have, this is tough, but I'm going to have Iowa make it into the Final Four, man. Let's do it. I think they'll be able to knock off Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga will be able to lose at some point. So, hey, that's where I'm going to have them predict to lose right there. And then we got Florida State versus Alabama. I'm going to take Alabama. I think they're too hot of a team right now. I think they'll be able to make it to the Final Four. I just see them as a Final Four team out of this bracket right here. And, yeah. Next up, we have Winthrop versus Arkansas. Do I want to ride that Winthrop rat wagon to the Final Four? I rode the Winthrop rat wagon all the way to the Elite Eight, but I think Arkansas will edge them out here after a big win over Ohio State. I think they have a lot of momentum to be able to get the job done here and make it into the Final Four themselves. So we actually have two SEC teams here in the Final Four. Interesting, but yeah. Next up, got Oklahoma State versus Houston, and I'm going to have Oklahoma State win and make it into the Final Four themselves. So Cade Cunningham leading his team very far into the tournament over Houston, a great defensive team who will test him a lot, and I think Oklahoma State has enough weapons around Cade to where he won't have to be the hero. Then, in our Final Four, I am going to take Iowa over Alabama. The Roll Tide rolled into the Final Four, but they got caught by a Hawkeye here in the Final Four game, and the Hawkeyes are going to the championship. And then we have the Razorbacks versus the Cowboys here, and I'm going to have Oklahoma State knock off Arkansas after a big run by them. They knocked out Ohio State, and they knocked off the Cinderella story in Winthrop. They ended my Winthrop wagon, but then Oklahoma State, coming off big wins over Illinois, Houston, Tennessee, gets the job done against Arkansas in a tough road all the way to the championship. We have Garza, Cunningham, who will win 2 versus 4 seed in the championship. I'm going to have Iowa win the national championship. Luka Garza, National Player of the Year, leads his team to the championship in his senior season in a huge run, knocking off the number 1 overall seed in Gonzaga, knocking off one of the hottest teams in the tournament in Alabama, and then knocking off the best player in the tournament in Cade Cunningham, leading his team there in Oklahoma State. And I'm actually going to pick a close one, maybe a lower of a scoring game. I'm going to say 73 to 69. 69 for the memes. And that is going to be my pick. Iowa Hawkeyes. I think it's different. I think it could happen. I mean, how often do you see the top 2 seeds make it? I could very well see it happen. I have many brackets where I do have that happening. But I think crazy things happen. The top seeds lose in March Madness. That's why it's called March Madness. So, yeah, I just hope you guys can appreciate that I like to go bold here, and don't get too salty at me about Illinois and Gonzaga losing because they're the best teams, but the best teams lose in March Madness. I'm just trying to go bold here, so I hope you guys can appreciate that and not give me too much hate. But yeah, join my group. It's actually, I have a different bracket than this one as my one in my group right here. So if you guys want to join my group, once again, like I said in the beginning of the video, this is the name of it. It's the same as my YouTube name, Dannyology, and then the password to get in is Dannyology and subs. So if you want to pause the video and join it right there, as you can see, we already have a bunch of subs in here. I will also have a link to it in the description if you would rather join that way. So yeah, subscribe, join my group. You guys subscribe to join it, and then yeah, comment down below who you guys have in your guys' Final Four. And yeah, without further ado, it's been your boy Danny, and I'm out.